So the very first stage is market development. Now let's move on and talk a little bit about project manager. In other words, product managers determines what's going to be the product scope of work in order to let it grow. Who is a product manager and what does this guy do? Is it the same guy as a project manager? No? Okay. But what's the difference between the product manager and the project manager, and if these guys are even working together? You know what? This is the most common question I get. What's the difference between the project manager and the product owner, or aka product manager? And in this episode, let's define what are the actual difference between these two roles and how do they collaborate together. Hey there, my name is Chris. Welcome back to my project management sandbox. On this channel, I share tips on managing projects, career in tech, and professional development. And by the end of this episode, you're gonna know exactly who a product manager is, who a project manager is, what are the differences between these two, and how do they collaborate together. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. By the way, if you're interested in mentorship with me, make sure to check the links in the description below. So, let's get started. Whoa. Before we start, make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are set. That will help you to stay on track about all the new updates and tips that I'm sharing here every week. Giving you 3 seconds. Come on. 1, 2, 3. Now, let's get back to the chase. So today we'll talk about difference between product and project manager, right? So I have already touched base on this a little bit when we were talking about the differences across project, program, and portfolio. You can check it out here. However, today let's specifically discuss what's the difference between project and product to get an idea what's the difference between the guys who are leading both of them. So let's start. So first of all, let's discuss what an IT product is. So mainly, if you look around yourself, you will see it mostly everywhere, starting from the mobile apps applications across all the websites and ending by the real devices and gadgets like smart home, like all the tablets, laptops, mobile phones, and etc. Mainly, the IT product is something that we are giving to the end user, right? And from the management perspective, IT product has also its life cycle. So let's take a common schema to determine how the IT product lives. So in a few words, according to the common approach, if we look at this picture, we can see that the product life cycle has 4 general stages, and they are market development, growth, maturity, and decline. So the very first stage is market development, and products are growing iteratively, and the very first thing that we need to do is to make market research. Well, mainly, you do not want to create or develop anything that no one is going to use, right? And here is where the product management work starts. So product manager is a guy who joins the product team among the very first stakeholders. And this is the guy who determines what actually the end user wants. If we move forward, once the research is done, once the market needs are determined, next we need to define how actually are we able to fulfill them. So what we need to do in order to give customers what they want. And this is again the work of a product manager. So this guy determines what actually should we do in order to create the product that meets the end user's needs and desires. So in other words, product managers determines what's going to be the product scope of work in order to let it grow. Moving on, when the product is finally live, what we need to do is to maintain it functional and bug-free. In other words, we need to keep it demanded across our end users. Otherwise, I assume you do not want to use any product that is always having issues and is not accessible or always experiencing some bugs, right? So here, the idea is that we need to make it working. We need to keep it working and we need to keep it up to date according to the end user's needs. So we need to make it mature. We need to keep it mature and we need to let end users use it without any issues. Again, this is what product manager does. So this guys determines what's across or among the end user's requests and feedback is most relevant and what would help the product stay up to date. And the last stage of the product lifecycle is decline. That happens when the market becomes really crowded and overwhelmed, or someone created something more modern and new that is more demanded among the customers. So this is when product manager comes again and dives in order to determine what could be done for the product to improve it or to upgrade it in order to give it a second life. As you see, a product manager is someone who works the product throughout its life cycle, starting from the very beginning when we are doing a marketing research and ending by the decline stage when it's time to determine what else could be done in order to evolve the product into something more. Along with that, product manager is all about user needs and customer demands to make the product wanted by the end users and let it earn funds, right? So we are developing something in order to earn money on this. And therefore, information about customer needs, about users' demands, and information about what they actually want is priceless data for a product manager. Based on this information, a product manager determines how actually the product should look like, what functionality should it has, and how should it be delivered to the end users. By the way, if you heard of product owners, mainly this is the same guy as a product manager. The difference is in the methodology that is chosen in order to deliver the product. And now let's move on and talk a little bit about project manager. And again, to understand the difference, let's start from the very basics. So let's start from the project lifecycle. As you know, projects have their lifecycle too. Are you enjoying this episode? By the way, if you're not subscribed yet, this is the right moment to do so. So make sure that you're subscribed, that your notifications are set, otherwise it is easy to miss the next episode that will be coming up next week. And not only this, if you're really enjoying this video, please make sure you're hitting the like button. That would mean a world to me. First of all, it will help me to understand that you really like the information that I'm sharing and it will motivate me to create more videos for you. And the other thing is about those likes and subscriptions that YouTube will understand that this video is worth watching and this would help YouTube to promote it to more and more users who will get this value from the video as well. So please make sure you're subscribed, the like button was hit, and now let's continue watching this episode. Now, let's get back to the project lifecycle. As you may remember, this flow has 5 stages in it. So first one is initiation, then planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. We could touch base on each of them just on a high level. So initiation is the moment when we are meeting the stakeholders and when we are getting information that something is going to develop or created. Okay, so planning is one of the most active phases because during this stage we are gathering project requirements. We are determining what should be developed, when and how. Mainly during this stage, project manager is going to respond to the most common questions that we usually hear. So what, how much, and when. And here we build the project delivery plan and we determine who's going to work on a project. So executing, when we have a plan in place, we are starting working in order to get all together and to start the project work. Monitoring and controlling is one of the longest phases of the project. So mainly, this is when all the work is being done, and the responsibility of the project manager during this stage is to supervise all the work that is being done, to keep a finger on a pulse in order to determine if the project team is adhering to the general project goals and to the general project KPIs, and to make sure that the project is on track. And the final fifth stage, which is closing, is when we are determining whether the work was done in the right way and when we help transfer the project from the active phases, from the real work to maintenance. And as you may understand, the project manager is the one who executes all this together. So this is the guy who plans the work, who makes that work was done, and who verifies the final result. So project manager takes care of planning, executing the project, and verifying that the project is bug-free, risk-free, and change requests were addressed accurately. And here is a little detail I would want you to pay special attention to. And this is the fifth stage of the project lifecycle, which is called closing or closure. And this is the main difference between the project and product. Mainly, a project has its end. It always has its start and finish points. Only this way we can determine that the work was actually completed. On the other hand, product could also have its end, but we would want it to live and to bring more funds moving forward. Along with that, product and project are not separated at all. Okay, so to deliver a product to the end users, we need to execute a project, right? So we need to get the requirements, how the product is going to look like, how should it function, and how the end users are going to use it. And this is going to be a project that we are going to execute in order to give a birth to a real product. Along with that, not only this, I would say that once the project is live, once the product is live and once it's on the market, it may require improvements and it may require fixes and additional modifications. And these are also gonna be minor projects within the product lifecycle. Or these may be product releases, which also means some project work within. In other words, product is bigger than projects, but the product cannot exist without project, right? And the same we can say when it comes to comparing product manager and project manager. These two guys are constantly working together and helping each other in order to deliver a better product to the end users. And let me know in comments, who would you prefer to be? A romantic, customer-caring product manager or a down-to-earth, risk-free project manager? Thanks for watching till the end. See you in the next episode. Bye!